What is the highest AC a character can achieve in D&D? Wizards of the Coast finally put out an update to the Artificer class, and I think the updated Guardian Armorer is the character that can hit a higher AC than any other character in D&D 5.5. But just being hard to hit doesn't necessarily make you a great tank, does it? So keep watching, and we will dive into what else this character is capable of beyond being nigh unkillable. Spoiler warning, is a lot. Welcome to D4. Hey everybody, so here at D4, every week I take a deep dive into character builds for my favorite role-playing games. I like to crunch numbers about them, I like to theorycraft about them, not so that I can tell you the right way or the best way to play a character, but to explore one potential way to build something in the hopes of creating a character that's both really fun but also powerful to play. So if you also enjoy creating characters for your favorite role-playing games, or if you're just interested in theory crafting, or if you're looking for tips or ideas on how to build something that you're thinking about playing, then welcome home. This is where you belong, and I'm super glad you're here. So thanks for watching. My name's Colby. About 5 years ago, holy cow, I put out my very first Artificer build. Up until that point, I was super hesitant to do so. I felt like not everyone loved Artifice, and that maybe not very many people allowed Artificers at their table. In reality, I think I had a bias against what felt like clockwork steampunk in my high fantasy D&D setting. And I know, Artifice doesn't have to be clockworky steampunk, but I think that's how most people think about it, myself included. Anyways, after lots and lots of requests from viewers, I finally gave in and I made this little ditty up here, the Armorer Artificer, I called it. It was build number 22. Wow. And I will admit, I absolutely fell in love when I made that video with Artificers, with Armorers especially, and I have been doing Artificer builds ever since. I don't know what it was about the Armorer specifically that I loved so much. Maybe it was the massive crush that I have on Vi. That's not Vi. Yeah, I mean, I just loved the idea of punching stuff with my mecha suit gauntlets. Maybe it's my love of just playing tanks in general in RPGs and gishes, and how the Armorer, specifically the Guardian, I think, made such a fantastic gishy tank. Probably the best subclass for tanking in all of the 2014, anyways, rule set, I would argue. Regardless, yeah, I really love Artificers, and especially Armorers, and so I've been waiting so patiently, with bated breath, for Wizards of the Coast to finally put out the official updated version of the class so I could finally play with them again in 5.5. I mean, sure, technically I could have been playing with them ever since 5.5 came out over a year ago, and I guess I did do that Dreadnought build when it first hit Unearthed Arcana a while ago, but knowing that an official Artificer update was coming, it made it kind of hard to want to build something with the old class and subclasses for the last year or so, since I knew it would be outdated fairly quickly. But praise gone, a few days ago, the 5.5 update has finally arrived in the form of the new 5.5 book, Eberron, Forge of the Artificer, which I have a little product link to down there somewhere. By the way, if you're interested in buying a hard copy, I actually make a few pennies if you buy it from the link there, just in case you're wanting to get a hard copy, and thanks. But yeah, I like a lot of what the book has to offer. Some of it I like less, admittedly. Kind of wish they would have done a little more to update some of the subclasses and the species in particular. But in the end, I'm just happy to have an official update for 5.5 so I can finally feel comfortable using Artificers in my builds again. Yay. And as excited as I am to build an updated artillerist, battlesmith, and sure, even an alchemist and a cartographer, the place I have to start, I think, is with the Armorer, the Guardian specifically, because yeah, it's my favorite subclass, and it's what made me fall in love with Artificers in the first place, and because, well, they're better than ever. You ready to jump in? No more preamble. We are probably going long today, and I'm excited about this one. So I proudly present D&D Build number 239, the Armorer tank, Big Ben, the Mecha Guardian, a guardian for all time. Get it? Because clockwork. The Guardificer, the Armor class. It's kind of clever. Mecha Knight, Heavy Armorer, Steampunk Tony Stark, the Pulsing Panzer. That sounds like it might get me in trouble. Thanks, as always, to all the fantastic suggestions from the Discord server. I think I'm going to keep it a little boring, a little straightforward, and just go with Guardian 2.0. Huge thanks also to my good friend Randall Hampton for the fantastic artwork that he put together for the build today. He does this every week. He's so talented. If you'd be interested in checking out the other stuff that he does, or, potentially reaching out to try and commission him to create some art for your character or even your entire party, I'll put links in the video description as always on how to do so. Magic spoon time is my favorite time, and especially when I'm hungry, like right now. And I just got back from the gym and I need some protein. Some people might like Magic Spoon for breakfast. Some might like it for dinner or a snack. But yeah, I like it best for lunch. Right after I get done working out. I don't want a lot of carbs. I need some protein. Because here's the deal with Magic Spoon, in case you didn't know. First of all, I really like the way it tastes. Great flavors like fruity, frosted, chocolate, peanut butter, cinnamon toast I'm having today. My favorite's maple waffle, but there's lots more. They remind me of my favorite cereals that I used to eat as a kid. Second, the ingredients are just way better. Each serving has 13 to 14 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, and only 4 to 5 net grams of carbs. That's really good for cereal, especially when it tastes like this. So yeah, it's perfect for the way that I try to eat. And as you may have heard, Magic Spoon does more than just cereal, right? They've got these really great treat bars that my whole family loves. I actually had to hide this box because I knew that if I left it out in the open, it would all be gone when I went to record this ad spot as usual. And this is actually my favorite flavor, the chocolate peanut butter. But they've got lots of other great ones as well, like blueberry muffin, s'mores, salted caramel, and others. But yeah, the treats are a really nice on-the-go option. 11 to 12 grams of protein, a gram of sugar, 1 to 2 net grams of carbs, with like a crispy, crunchy kind of chewiness that's quite satisfying, honestly, and satiating. And then you've got the granola, my favorite. It's got a really nice, like, nutty crunch that I love to mix with the regular cereal, like I've done today, or even just like put it in yogurt or whatever. So good. And yeah, similar stats on the granola. 13 grams of protein, 0 added sugar, packed with like sunflower seeds, cashews, and flavors I love. Honey almond is what I'm having today. There's peanut butter, mixed berry, dark chocolate. So do yourself a favor and check out Magic Spoon. I'm sure that you'll find a product or 3 that you really love. When you do, go to magicspoon.com/D4 or scan the QR code that's been up here the whole time, if you would, so that they know I sent you. Thanks for that. They do offer a 100% happiness guarantee. If you order online, you don't like it, they will refund your money, no questions asked. So nothing to lose. Oh, and don't forget to use the code D4 at checkout to save $5 off your order. All right, big thanks to Magic Spoon for sponsoring and giving me a delicious lunch. Let's get back to the build. All right, at level 1 for our starting class, yeah, we're just going Artificer. Of course we are. That is the nice thing about Artificers. If you're playing one, there's rarely a compelling reason to start with a different class. You get armor and shield proficiency, you get constitution saving throw proficiency for better concentration checks, among other things. Even if you want to multi-class, if you're playing an Artificer, you pretty much always want to start Artificer. Yay. Okay, but what about our species? Well, I figure, hey, if we're using stuff from the Eberron book, we might as well go all in and be a Warforged while we're at it, right? One of the best species for tanking, no doubt, as they just get an inherent +1 to their armor class, as well as some other nice benefits like resistance to poison damage, which anyone focused on survivability will appreciate. There are plenty of great alternatives, though, if you don't want to be a construct, right? The new shifters are arguably even better for tanking since they can get an AC bonus and some temporary hit points. I don't love the bonus action requirement to shift personally, or the 1 minute duration of that shift, right? But yeah, it's a great alternative for sure. I considered just going human for an extra origin feat, which I would love to have, but in the end, anything will work. Play what you want. I'm going Warforged. As for our background, I'll say pick an old one or, customize one if you can, but if not, Sage will work just fine to get us the origin feat that we want and the ability score increases we want too. Now, let me address this one right up front here. No, I am not taking any of those house backgrounds because I'm not planning on using any Dragon Mark feats in the build. This is probably something that I'm going to have to address repeatedly until I stop doing this channel from here on out. Those Dragon Mark feats, Aberrant Dragon Mark or Mark of X, etc., that we get in this book, right? They're really good. Really, really good. And if you can use them, go for it. For this build, the Mark of Sentinel feat is especially awesome, as it gets us the shield spell, a bunch of other fantastic tanking spells, and the ability to just take a hit instead of your friend, which is exactly what we would want to be doing, right? That said, these feats all have a very strict prerequisite, yeah? And it's that we are playing in an Eberron campaign. Now, I know a lot of you can use them even if you're not playing in an Eberron campaign. According to a poll I did a couple of weeks ago, it might be almost half of you, maybe a little less, but it's not rules as written. And yeah, the percentage of people like deviating from rules as written in this case is by no means an apparent overwhelming majority. And so I think I'll refrain from using them myself when I do builds because I just have no idea if they'll be usable at your table. And if half the people can't use the thing that I'm telling you to do in the build, then it doesn't sit well with me or lots of you. In the end, if they're available, there's probably almost always a Dragon Mark feat that will be better than any other option for your build, so go ahead and use it. And, maybe I'll change my mind about this one day, or maybe I'll at least do a build one day that's like the ultimate Eberron character or something. But until then, yeah, I think I'll refrain. You should totally beg and plead and bribe your DM to let you take Mark of Sentinel, even if you're not playing in an Eberron campaign, but if they still say no, don't be a baby about it. Be happy with the Sage background, since it still lets us get the origin feat that we want, which is Magic Initiate Wizard. This would let us learn a first level wizard spell and a couple of cantrips too. Which spell should we take? Shield. Naturally, since we are a tank and we're building today to optimize our survivability as a result. Shield lets us use a reaction when we're hit to increase our armor class by 5 for the rest of the round, potentially causing that hit and others, right, to miss. So good. Probably too good, but we still want it. As for the cantrips, I like Booming Blade, so we can do a little extra damage on a hit and discourage the enemy from running away from us, right? And True Strike, at least for now, so that we can attack with a weapon using our spellcasting stat, plus do some extra damage. We're not going to need that one in a couple of levels, but for now, it's worth using. And yes, both of these are Artificer cantrips, so feel free to grab something Artificers can't otherwise get, but I want a couple of different Artificer cantrips personally. Anyways, yeah, I'd love to have Tough as an origin feat. I can't believe I'm building a tank without the Tough feat, actually. Be a human and grab it if you want. But in the end, I found that not getting hit tends to do more for our survivability than having more hit points, right? So I'm prioritizing shield and a better armor class from Warforged. We could just take a wizard dip too for the spell, right? But there are too many awesome artificer and armor abilities that I want to beeline for, so I don't want to delay them for even a single level right now. Maybe later. Okay, for our ability scores, I'm assuming that we're going the point by method as always and say let's take a 15 Constitution plus 2, a 15 Intelligence plus 1, and a 14 Dexterity. You could, of course, flip the con and the int there, right, and try to max out Intelligence first. Wouldn't be a bad idea at all. But again, as a tank, I'm just trying to build for survivability first, so emphasizing Constitution here. For our starting equipment, you're going to want to grab some scale mail for now, right? You can get heavy armor later. And then a shield and just like your favorite simple melee one-handed weapon, a mace, a spear, etc. You could go ranged, of course. I think I'd just rather play the way that I was going to play the character from level 1 on if I could, even if I'm not quite as good at it right now. But, a mace and True Strike are going to get you to level 3. As an Artificer 1, we get the Tinker's Magic feature, which, has changed quite a bit for 5.5. Used to be magical tinkering, right? And it would let us make a cool little gadget that would light up or make a noise. Now, this feature simply teaches us the Mending cantrip, nice, and lets us instantly create a piece of mundane adventuring gear, like a torch or rope or manacles or caltrops, intelligence modifier times per day. It might admittedly be a little less interesting of a feature, right? But I don't think it's a huge nerf. Some of those items can really come in handy. Get creative for using them like we tried to with the detective recently, yeah? And then we get Artificer spells, of course. And for cantrips, we only get 2. I'd probably take Thorn Whip to do a little damage and try and like yoink an enemy our way, yeah? Especially if it would mean getting them away from a squishier ally. And then Guidance for a nice D4 to someone's ability check, always useful. As for first level spells, Absorb Elements is great for survivability. It's like the shield spell, but for elemental damage, right? Letting us use our reaction to have resistance to like elemental damage that's coming our way, and actually gives us a little bonus damage on our turn as well, for that matter. I often forget about that part of the spell. But beyond that, yes, I want Cure Wounds, as it's a solid 2d8 plus intelligence for us in healing with a touch and our action. And don't forget, it scales by 2d8 more for every level we upcast it now. It's so good. But Sanctuary is a nice way to help keep an ally safe, potentially. A jump is great for like all-purpose movement. And yeah, Fairy Fire might be worth concentrating on now to give advantage on all attacks against potentially multiple enemies who fail their save against it. You protect your allies and help them do more damage too. Such a good friend. You know who else is a really good friend? You are. And also, all of my channel members and patrons. Let me give a quick shout out to them. You guys, thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me, and I can do this because of you. If you're not a member or a patron, I'd love it if you'd consider becoming one. There's a button down there that says join, or if you look in the video description, you can see a link to my Patreon page where you can learn about all of the little perks that I give to my members and patrons, including access to the library of write-ups that I make for each of these builds so that you can more easily recreate them yourself, right? Little cheat sheet. Access to the community Discord server, and access to the live monthly Q&A hangout sessions that we have. If you can't or don't really want to support the channel in this way, that's fine. Being here, watching, liking, subscribing, all of those things are also great ways to support, so thanks. At level 2, we get the Replicate Magic Item feature. Okay, this feature has replaced the Artificer Infusions feature, where we would take a mundane object and make it magical, and we had a few different infusions that we could use to do that, right? Now, we get a little more sort of lumped in with all magic items, and we're just given the ability to learn plans for a list of magic items, and then we can create and use 2 of those magic items at a time, and we can swap them out when we finish a long rest. Functionally, it's almost exactly the same as infusions. You know, we're learning 4 plans now, and then are able to create 2 items with the plans that we know, and magic items that we're able to sort of have created at any one time increase with Artificer level. The list we get access to is also very similar as our infusions list was, though I think in general it's got a little more flexibility now, especially at higher levels. I think for me at level 2, the 2 magic items that I would want to make would be just a +1 shield and a +1 weapon. Even though it's a little boring, it's a nice little power bump for both offense and defense. At level 3, we get our subclass, and we're going Armorer, of course, so let's read the flavor text now that it's updated for 5.5, shall we? An artificer who specializes as an armorer modifies armor to function almost like a second skin. The armor is enhanced to hone the artificer's magic, unleash potent attacks, and generate a formidable defense. That's almost exactly the same as the old description. They just removed a sentence. How about the mechanics? First up, we get Tools of the Trade, which gives us heavy armor and Smith's Tools proficiency, sweet, and also now says that when we craft armor, whether magical or non-magical, it takes half the time as normal. That's nice. For reference, a set of plate armor would normally take 75 days and 750 gold. So for us, I guess it would be 38 days, right? And if we got a friend to help, it would be 19. But, I mean, yeah, at level 3, do we really want to wait 20 days to get some plate armor? I would think that we would have the money to just buy some long before then, in most campaigns. I don't know. Here's hoping that you can just find or buy some the old-fashioned way if you don't have the time, or if you don't want to wait, right? I mean, I guess splint armor would only be 10 days normally, 5 days for us, 3 days with help. It's a lot more reasonable, I suppose. As long as you're in a place where you can secure the 100 gold worth of materials for it. Anyways, we also get the Arcane Armor ability. This lets us turn armor that we're wearing into special armor. Ooh, special. It has the following benefits. No strength requirement, so go ahead and don that plate or splint now once you've got it. It also says that we can put the armor on or take it off with just an action. I imagine it sort of magically expands to cover us, or like retracts into maybe a little box or a ball or something. It's super fun. It can't be removed against our will and counts as a spellcasting focus for our spells, which should be especially nice if we needed a free hand for casting, but we don't, because this arcane armor can take on one of 3 forms, and we can alter the form it takes after just a short rest. Each of these models get a special weapon inherent with them, and the Guardian model gets the best one, in my opinion, at least for tanking. The Thunder Pulse, it's no longer called a Thunder Gauntlet, making the flavor of this feel like you're kind of making a short-range concussive blast from just, I guess, somewhere on your armor you choose. It's kind of weird, but we're told that this pulse still counts as a simple melee weapon, but we're not really swinging it. I don't know. I think I'd still flavor it like I was punching with my fist, and the concussive pulse just happened when I connected, but go a different route if you want. Flavor's free. Regardless, for mechanics purposes, this is a melee weapon that deals 1d8 thunder damage on a hit, and a creature hit by it has disadvantage on all attack rolls against anyone other than you until the start of your next turn. And you know what? This is the first character that we have in 5.5 now that does this, right? The Cavalier Fighter hasn't been updated. The Ancestral Guardian Barbarian hasn't been updated. So for those using 5.5 rules only, this is like the best soft taunter you've got access to, I think. I mean, I kind of feel like it already was in 2014 rules anyways, but yeah, this is what we refer to as a soft taunt, right? Very few ways to force an enemy in D&D to attack you against their will, like you can in a lot of RPG video games, you know? So this is about as good as it typically gets, and it's pretty good. Even if the enemy decides to attack your ally anyways, well, that disadvantage that you gave them is going to make it a lot less likely that they'll actually connect. So you're doing your job, even if they're not trying to hit you like they should be. The Guardian model also has the defensive field feature, which is both better and worse than when we saw it in Tasha's. It still lets us use a bonus action to gain temporary hit points, equal to our Artificer level, but now we can do it as often as we want, rather than proficiency bonus times per day. Sweet. Only problem is, we can only do it if we're bloodied, which means half health or below, right? Still, I think I prefer this. It means we'll be able to do it as often as we want when we really need it. And that feels a little more useful to me. As for the other models that armor can transform into, right? I'm not going to go into them too much here, but I'll just summarize by saying the Dreadnought got some tweaks since we saw it in Unearthed Arcana, but is largely the same. It basically lets us get big and hit a little harder with reach and like push enemies around. A fun wrecking ball kind of concept. And then the Infiltrator is like the stealth mech that attacks from range with lightning. Also fun to build around, which I've done a couple of times. My favorite one being here, I think. And yeah, the fact that we can swap between the three of these with just a short rest actually makes for some really fun and useful versatility. But I'm just going to focus on the Guardian from here on, as it's the tank model that we're building around, right? Now, here's an important question that you might need to discuss with your DM. Can the +1 weapon magic item plan that we have be used on our armorer's special weapon? I think the answer is simple. Yeah. The description for the plan says that it works on any weapon. And we are told that this Thunder Pulse counts as a simple melee weapon. I have a hard time believing that the vast majority of DMs wouldn't allow this. I suppose I could see some getting hung up on the words counts as, claiming that that's not the same as is or something. But yeah, come on. Artificers aren't OP. DMs, please don't quibble about this. Oh, I almost forgot. Arguably the best thing about each of these special weapons from each model, we can use our intelligence modifier for the plus to hit and damage bonus of our attacks. Hooray for sad artificers. Single ability score dependent. They are happy to be sad. Finally, at this level, we get armor spells, Magic Missile and Thunder Wave for free. I wish we got Shield, but that's okay. These are situationally useful. No complaints. At level 4, we get our first general feat, and in the interest of survivability above all, I think I would take Heavy Armor Master, now that we can use heavy armor. It got a nice buff in 5.5. First, it's a strength or constitution half feat now. Awesome. Bumping our constitution to 18 feels great. And then it says that when we're wearing heavy armor, any bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage we take from an attack specifically is reduced by an amount equal to our proficiency bonus. So it actually scales now. Not by a ton, but it adds up. Especially if we're getting hit a lot, which hopefully we would be. So yay. Of course, with the AC that we are going to have, maybe we won't be getting hit all that often, but more on that later. At level 5, we get extra attack, so now we have more chances to connect with that pulse and impose that soft taunt. This is the main reason why I think it's important to get that +1 on our weapon, since that is how we're going to be debuffing the enemy, right? Encouraging them to attack us and not our allies. And yeah, Extra attack will help ensure that we land it on our primary target, or better yet, perhaps land it on a second enemy to help further protect our allies. So now we're debuffing 2 of them. We also get second level spells here, and armorers get Mirror Image and Shatter for free, both nice. Mirror Image especially, I think, though I'm not sure if I would use it all that often if I were playing a tank. I wish I could cast it on an ally, honestly. I mean, yes, it would help our survivability, but part of me worries whenever I do these tank builds that I'm making a character that's too hard to hit, right? Or too survivable. The fantasy of being a tank is to protect your allies by getting enemies to attack me instead of them. If I'm throwing up Mirror Image on myself, my fear is that an enemy who might already be kind of dissuaded from attacking me due to my high AC and general beefcakiness might be further incentivized to just ignore me, which would be bad. Maybe pull the spell out if you're going into Infiltrator or Dreadnought. Beyond that, Aid is a great spell here to bolster the max hit points of party members. Enlarge Reduce is a fun way to make yourself big so that you can hit harder and just make yourself like a big obstacle in the battlefield that can draw enemy fire and more easily get to other enemies, right? Lesser Restoration is a nice bad condition cure. Invisibility is always useful. Vortex Warp is a blast to just teleport people around. Web is incredible control and might be the best thing to concentrate on right now, honestly. But then there's Homunculus Servant. This used to be an infusion, and now it's a spell, and that makes me super happy because it means I don't have to use up one of my precious magic item slots for it. And it's a ritual spell, so you don't even have to spend a spell slot on it. It functions similarly to Find Familiar in that it takes its turn immediately after you and obeys your commands without requiring any action or bonus action on your part. Unlike a familiar, though, it can attack on its turn. The damage isn't huge, but it's something, if you're willing to risk them dying if they're out in combat, right? They're not the most durable of creatures. They do have evasion, though, to help them stay safe from AoE. They're a construct, which means they can't get targeted by a lot of stuff that can only target like humanoids, right? And they can deliver a spell that we cast with a range of touch, but using their reaction. So there's some nice utility mostly, but yeah, I will plan on making nice use of them later, as I'm sure you are anticipating. At level 6, we get Magic Item Tinkerer, which further buffs our Replicate Magic Item feature that we got at level 2. We can now charge a magic item with a bonus action, granting more charges to it if it takes charges, right? Using a first level or higher spell slot, that's nice. Or we can drain a magic item that we've created, converting it into a spell slot. Only once per day, but some nice versatility if need be. Finally, we can just take one magic item that we've created and turn it into something else we can create with a simple action. Also only once per day, but pretty awesome if we need something else in a pinch. Best of all, of course, we get to have a third created magic item now and learn a new plan, including the more powerful ones that are available to us at 6th level. There are a lot of fantastic ones, but I think I'd just grab the +1 armor, yeah, boring. And then I'd also swap the +1 shield plan for probably the repulsion shield. Remember, we can swap one plan we know for another one that's available to us every time we gain an artificer level. The repulsion shield is also +1, but it has a few charges per day that we can use to push an enemy 15 feet away from us if they hit us in melee. Situationally useful, always fun. But then again, who's going to be hitting us? Let's talk about it in our first damage report. Now that we are level 6. Okay, first, a quick word about how we do damage reports for tanks. At each damage report, I pit the tank against 3 scenarios. A deadly encounter dragon, deadly that is at this level, assuming a party of 4. I call this a boss fight. And then a deadly encounter, a group of 3 or 4 bad guys, which I call just a typical fight. And then a level appropriate AoE spell, usually Fireball. For 4 rounds, those enemies just go all out on our hero, including breath weapons and even legendary actions if they've got them, in an attempt to take us out. I assume we've got all of our resources available for the fight if we need them, just like I do for damage dealing builds, right? We calculate how much damage we would take per round under those assumptions on average, and that is the DTPR, damage taken per round, and how many hit points that we would have left at the end of the fight, 4-round combat encounter, and that is hit points remaining. At level 6, we are going to be going up against a young blue dragon for the boss, then 3 trolls for the typical fight, and finally a DC 14 level 3 fireball, just every round fireball to the face. As for what we would be doing in combat, it's pretty simple. Run up to the deadliest enemy or enemies and punch them. giving disadvantage on their attacks against anyone but us. You might want to throw down a web or a fairy fire or enlarge yourself, but I'm just going to assume that we're mostly running around punching stuff and insulting everyone's mother.
Your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberries.
If we get below half health, we can use our bonus action for 6 temporary hit points at this level, but after only 4 rounds, we're not going to be able to use that all that often. I mean, assuming we've got a 2nd level aid on ourselves, with an 18 constitution, we're sitting at 67 hit points. That's good, but not amazing for a tank. We will get to potentially give ourselves some temporary hit points once we get bloodied, though, which might happen near the end of the fight, but our armor class, as a Warforged with +1 plate armor, a +1 shield, and access to the shield spell, potentially we're at a 28 AC at level 6. So, on average, over a 4-round combat encounter then, against that dragon, we would take 10 damage per round on average, and by the end of the fight, we'd still have 31 hit points. The typical fight, the trolls, it would be 7 DTPR and 40 HPR, and then 4 fireballs to the face, it would do 11 damage to us on average, assuming we've got absorb elements available, right? And that would leave us with 28 hit points at the end. And yes, these all account for, either the shield spell or absorb elements if we need it, and adding some temporary hit points once the bloody condition kicked in, which took a while, if it happened at all. Looking at you, trolls. In the end, these are all just numbers in a lab, right? I know, but they are pretty impressive numbers, to be sure. We're easily staying alive in every fight here, which is more than some of our 5.5 tank builds can say. But I'd call this kind of the middle of the pack at this level compared to other tanks, right, for survivability. We're hard to hit, but when we do get hit, we have fewer hit points to spare than the rest. So let's see how well we can scale it. At level 7, we get Flash of Genius, and this is a fantastic supporty tanky feature. It says that when we or an ally within 30 feet fails an ability check or, yes, a saving throw, we can take a reaction to add our intelligence modifier to the roll, potentially causing it to succeed. And we can do this intelligence modifier times per day. Nice. Do I assume that we're using it on ourselves when I crunch numbers? I mean, I feel like in the name of science I should, but I would encourage you to probably avoid using this just to save yourself from taking some damage, unless it's the difference between going down and staying up. Instead, I'd save it for a more devastating control spell, or maybe to save an ally from going down, right? Really, really great feature. Super useful, super versatile, and one that really makes me want to get my intelligence up. So let's do that at level 8 when we get our next feat. I'm thinking Warcaster is a great choice. I'm admittedly a little less worried about my concentration checks on this character, at least thus far, since concentration isn't something that we've concerned ourselves with too much. And as an artificer, we've got Constitution saving throw proficiency, and we've got an 18 Constitution at that. And now, Flash of Genius to help us further, potentially, and soon a magic item that will help us too, but I am about to become very concerned about making my concentration check, potentially, so yeah, let's get Warcaster to bump our intelligence to 17, give us advantage on our concentration checks, and also let us cast a spell as an opportunity attack, so we can smack someone with Booming Blade, maybe as they try to get away from us, dealing that extra damage as they move, right? That's nice. At level 9, though, we get Improved Armorer as an armorer, and this basically lets us have one more magic item plan and one more magic item active. Admittedly, this is kind of a nerf from Tasha's. We used to get 2 more essentially here, but anyways, it's still really good. Technically, the plan that we get and the item that we get have to be in the armor category, but remember, we're told that when you gain an artificer level, you can replace one of the plans you know with a new plan for which you qualify. That was a direct quote. So if need be, when you hit 9, drop your armor +1 plan and item, right? And swap it for Mind Sharpener, which is what I think I would want here. This is an amazing magic ring now that lets us use a reaction up to 4 times per day, potentially, to just succeed on a concentration check that we fail. That's awesome. And I'm also a little nervous about how many things we might want our reaction for. Still, it'll be nice to have when we need it. But then, yeah, since you hit level 9 and you get this improved armor feature, right, you can learn a new magic item plan, but it has to be in the armor category. Cool, I think I'll take, armor +1. But you know what my favorite thing is about the improved armor feature that armor artificers get? my very favorite thing in the whole wide world. It's this teeny little buff that got added since the Unearthed Arcana version. Quote, you gain a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with the special weapon of your arcane armor model. You guys, I could cry. I know this probably feels like an outsized reaction, but listen, I mean, longtime viewers of this channel know one of the things that I complain about most, and I complain a lot, is poor scaling in late game, right? For weapon users anyways, and this is something I have griped about forever. These built-in innate weapons that so many subclasses get, Beast Barbarians, Soul Knife Rogues, Armor Artificers, they so very often don't scale at all, and pretty much never scale in their +2 hit and damage. And as a result, in actual gameplay, they tend to feel weak and obsolete as the game goes on because magic weapons that other players are getting are outscaling them. But glory hallelujah. I can't help but wonder if someone over at WotC hasn't heard my lamentations, because lo and behold, our special weapon gets some scaling. Oh, I am so happy. And, for most of us at least, this should be in addition to the +1 buff that we currently have on that special weapon that we got from our magic item plans, right? Since, as we've already discussed, there's nothing in the verbiage of that magic item plan that should prohibit us from putting it on our special weapon. So here we are at level 2 with a +2 now to hit and damage with our Guardian Thunder Pulse attack, and that means we're probably, kind of keeping up with the magic weapons that other players at our table likely have at about this level, and that makes my heart sing. My special innate weapon isn't feeling obsolete, and this is going to do wonderful things for our ability to keep putting that soft taunt down on our enemies like any good tank should be doing. If anyone from Wizards of the Coast is listening, thank you. But at level 9, the hits just keep coming because we also get 3rd level spells, and while Armorers get the very impressive Hypnotic Pattern and Lightning Bolt for free. More on those later. And while we should all be considering Catnap for easy short rests, and Dispel Magic, and Fly, and Revivify, the one I want to focus on is, Haste. Haste. One of my very favorite buffs. It's just kind of perfect for us. We cast it as an action, that's kind of a bummer, and we have to concentrate on it, but then we get double move speed, 1 extra action per turn that we can use to make 1 more attack, awesome. More taunting. We get advantage on dexterity saving throws, nice, and even get to increase our armor class by 2. Best buff ever. And not just for damage dealers. Now, yes, it has a very big downside in that when it ends, whether after a minute or if we lose concentration, we are incapacitated and immobile for a turn. But we currently have a +9 to our concentration checks, with advantage thanks to Warcaster. We also have Flash of Genius to increase our bonus to +12 if need be, or if that still wouldn't get the job done, 4 charges of Mind Sharpener to just flat out succeed. I'm really not super worried about our concentration. Now, sure, a clever group of enemies and or DM might try and bait our reaction and then hit us with a massive blow, right? Hoping that we'll drop concentration. But guess what? If I've got a group of enemies coordinating their attacks and blowing all of their biggest hits on me in an attempt to get me to lose haste, mission freaking accomplished, right? Whether they succeed or not, I will gladly take all of your focus fire, thank you very much. Oh, I'm incapacitated for a round? Dang. Guess what? All my allies, who you've been ignoring and who hit a lot harder than I do, are at full health, and now you're dead. Bring it on. And at level 9, it is time for our next damage report. Oh, this is so fun. Okay, since last check, we've got the potential to upcast aid for 15 more hit points, bringing our total max HP to 99, which is nice, but again, pretty low for a tank. I'm really missing that tough feat. However, we have raised our potential armor class to 30, assuming we have haste active, and that is way better than any other tank I've done so far for 5.5 at this level. In addition, we've picked up some nice support and defensive and utility options, added a little damage, and even a 3rd attack per round for more taunting ability, putting us in a very pretty place at the moment. Our fights at this level, an adult white dragon in their lair, 4 wyverns, and a DC 15 level 5 fireball. So averaged over 4 rounds if they just attacked us and only us, right? That boss would do 15 damage per round to us on average, and at the end of the fight, we'd be left with 49 hit points. The typical fight, the Wyverns, it would be 12 DTPR and 53 HPR. And then the Fireball to the face is 11 DTPR and 55 hit points remaining at the end. And that's looking amazing compared to other tank builds that I've done to date at this level, beating out everyone but that Full Metal Abjurist right up there. Gonna be hard to beat that one. But yeah, I mean, especially looking at like attacks against our armor class, right? The Dragon, the Wyverns, we are kind of losing out on that Fireball by comparison, but it's fine, honestly. I'm still at half health. And am I really taking 4 Fireballs to the face every round? Maybe. I'm not that worried. And dang if we aren't one heck of a tank with all those soft taunts we're throwing around and the other support stuff we can potentially bring to the fight. It's pretty awesome. So what's tier 3 look like? Well, at level 10, we get Magic Item Adept, which simply lets us attune to 4 magic items now instead of 3. And yeah, you know, people probably don't talk about how powerful this actually is at most tables where most of the best magic items require attunement, right? And you're often kind of trying to decide, ooh, I'm gonna have to drop this magic item because I have too many items that require attunement and not enough slots for them. If we kind of oversell the power of artificers, which I worry that I do sometimes, you know, adding magic items for them when we're not adding magic items for other classes when we crunch numbers, even though in all likelihood at most tables, other characters are getting magic items too, right? Well, this is one way the artificers really are more powerful when it comes to magic items, being able to attune to more, right? And it's pretty potent. We also get another plan known now and a 5th magic item that we can be using, right, at any one time, as well as even more potent options to choose from. I'd say let's swap out that repulsion shield for just a +2 shield now, and then learn the Cloak of Protection plan and make one of those. So yeah, here's where this list now gets a lot more powerful than the old infusion list. There used to be an infusion called Replicate Magic Item that would just let us craft any magic item on a pretty decent list, most of which show up in our new list of plans now, right? Or just any common magic item, not including potions or scrolls. Well, now, here at level 10, we still get a nice list, plus are told that we can just create any uncommon, wondrous magic item that isn't cursed. And that just opens the gates to like 10 pages of options, and it's pretty awesome. Now sure, at a lot of tables, a lot of you are going to be able to just craft those things anyways, following the rules in the DMG, right? Or maybe just buy them. But this is so much easier, so much faster, so much cheaper, plus we can swap them out when we level if we find we don't need or want a particular item anymore. So tons of versatility. Speaking of which, yes, I would swap out the +1 weapon plan for the +2 one when you can. You're gonna have to wait until you level probably. And, you know, maybe even consider other things here too. If I were just starting this character at level 10 or higher, I'd for sure consider making a headband of intellect. So you can just like set your intelligence at 19, letting you dump intelligence maybe, put those stats into other things. Spell Rot tattoos can be super powerful. Luckstone is nice for saving throws and ability checks. I mean, of course, winged boots for flying, right? So many great fun options. Knock yourself out. I'm going for boring old stats, but man, it's harder than ever to multi-class out of Artificer these days, because at level 11, we get the most powerful Artificer feature in the game, and it's not even close. Yes, I'm talking about the vastly improved spell storing item. Okay, in case you didn't know, yeah, massive buff to this feature that is a little flabbergasting to me, if I'm being honest. I'm not complaining, but yes, this feature says that after a long rest, we can touch a weapon or a spellcasting focus and store a 1st, 2nd, or yeah, 3rd level spell in it now. And thereafter, while holding that object, any creature can produce the spell from the item a number of times equal to double our intelligence modifier per long rest. So it's only 6 times a day for us right now. Dang it, why haven't I been focusing on intelligence? The spell can be a concentration spell, but the creature casting from the object would need to be the one concentrating on it. So yeah, we could even have 2 concentration spells going. Okay, yes, this is amazing. And yes, I'd love to just give this to my homunculus at this point. Remember, they can take on whatever appearance we want, so they should be able to have hands if need be to hold this, and there's nothing that should prevent them from using it. The question is, of course, which third level spell should we store inside our spell storing item? You're thinking Lightning Bolt. I'm gonna say nope. Hypnotic Pattern then, yeah? I'm gonna say Cure Wounds. What? This is the worst. You're the worst, Flip Table. Okay, chill out. Let me explain. First of all, yes, of course, if you'd rather increase damage or increase control, go for it. You could alternatively even put haste in there, right? Give haste to an ally now. You concentrate on haste for yourself, and your homunculus concentrates on haste for your barbarian. One of my concerns with, those options is the homunculus holding on to concentration and surviving. But this could go very different from table to table. Can your homunculus, which is a tiny construct, remember, just kind of like sit in your backpack and stay safe? Like pop out, cast a spell, and then just go back into hiding? Maybe. I've seen that happen at some tables. But I tend to believe if they're doing massive damage or shutting down the battlefield or throwing out like a fantastic buff like haste, the DM's probably going to say that they need to be vulnerable. They can fly, so maybe they could just sort of cast the spell and then try to fly away to relative safety and hold on to concentration, or, keep firing lightning bolts with relative impunity. I don't know. If you want to try it, go for it. Or, sure, alternatively, just put Lightning Bolt in there and fire away yourself once in a while when you don't need to be tanking stuff. But here's why I love Cure Wounds for this build especially. First of all, it's a really powerful heal at level 3. And yeah, in case you're wondering, we should be able to store the spell in its 3rd level version, even though Cure Wounds is a 1st level spell. Here's what we're told about upcasting in the player's handbook. Quote, when a spellcaster casts a spell using a slot that is of a higher level than the spell takes on the higher level for that casting. For instance, if a wizard casts Magic Missile using a level 2 slot, that Magic Missile is level 2. So yeah, Cure Wounds upcast at the 3rd level is a 3rd level spell. And for us, it's healing 6d8 plus 3 right now. That's a lot of healing. Healing that we could use to keep ourselves alive, potentially. Especially, sure, if they're hanging out in our backpack or maybe just like trying to hide on our back or something, right? Is a monster really going to target our homunculus to keep it from healing? Yeah, it might. But if so, it's probably worth it for us to cause the monster to sacrifice their actions and resources when we can just bring the homunculus back with a 2nd level spell when we've got some time. And yeah, 6 castings of Cure Wounds at the 3rd level per day, that's great for us if we are getting hit, and great for our allies if we're not. I think it's a decent option even if you're not playing a tanky character, honestly. I'm just going to assume, when I crunch numbers, that we've got this little guy healing us every round. It might be overkill, and if you think so, I'm okay with that, go a different route. Our survivability is already pretty great. But in the name of the spreadsheet, let's see what happens when we got a pocket healer. At level 12, we get another feat, and yeah, now more than ever, I want to get that intelligence to 18, so let's grab a good half feat for it since we're sitting at 17. What would you take? I think telekinetic might be at the top of my list. We don't often have a use for our bonus action every round because we're probably not getting bloodied very often and, needing temporary hit points. Telekinetic gives us the always useful Mage Hand spell, an invisible one even, but then lets us force a strength save as a bonus action to push or pull someone 5 feet. It's not huge, but it could really help an ally run to safety without getting hit, to say nothing of, pushing an enemy into a hazard or off a cliff, or just lining them up for that perfect lightning bolt, right? My other favorite here would be Fate Touched. We'd have Misty Step as a result, always useful, and then one other enchantment or divination spell, meaning we could grab Bless if no one else is using it, and we'd rather concentrate on that than haste. Or sure, Silvery Barbs, don't get mad at me, mob. It's a great way to help protect your allies if an enemy crits them or something. Anyways, pick your favorite here. Okay, at level 13, you didn't think I was actually going to just single class this thing, did you? All right, listen. Now that we've gotten the most powerful Artificer feature, spell storing item, and that feat at 12 to bump our intelligence, sure, maybe I take a small dip somewhere else. But you know what? I don't think I go wizard this time. Not that there aren't good reasons for doing so. War Magic and Abjuration would both be compelling dips to improve our defenses a bit and increase our spell slot scaling for better upcasting of aid, our heals, lightning bolt, etc., right? But there are just so many great things still to come in Artificer that I just don't think I'd even want to take a 3-level detour on this build. It feels weird coming from me, I know, but no, I think the only thing I might maybe want to do would be to grab just 1 or 2 teeny weeny levels in, you guessed it, Fighter. I know, the meme lives on. I gotta sell t-shirts, people. Wait, did you guys know I have t-shirts making fun of myself for Fighter dips, among other things? Yeah, check out the link to my merch store in the video description. Great Christmas gifts. Anyway, I mean, the only reason I'd even potentially consider going Fighter, really, would be for the fighting style that we get at Fighter 1, because I'm trying to break the world record for highest AC possible here. And the defense fighting style gets me 1 more beautiful AC bump. Obviously, you could take Interception or Protection instead. Protection is kind of generally better now, I think, but our enemies should fairly regularly have disadvantage on attacks against our allies already, making Protection not super useful, so maybe Interception's better, just in case our ally still gets hit. But I don't know, like I've said, we're kind of log-jammed at our reaction as is, and it's going to get worse. So, of course, you don't have to go Fighter if you don't want. It's level 13, it's a damage report. I'm a greedy little munchkin who wants 1 more AC. Stay Artificer instead if you'd rather. Or sure, take that Wizard dip. The other stuff we get at Fighter 1 is not really a big deal for us. Weapon masteries especially, right? Since the Thunder Pulse doesn't have any mastery options, and we're not switching to a different weapon unless an enemy is immune to thunder damage, I guess, maybe. And maybe not even then, because we still want to debuff them. Second Wind would give our total potential hit points a teeny bump, 1d10 plus our fighter level as a bonus action, healing twice per day, recovering a use of it on a short rest. But as we're going to see pretty soon, we might not ever even need to use that feature at all, because at level 13, it's time for our next damage report. Since last check, we have increased our armor class by no less than 3. 1 for the +2 shield, right? 1 for the Cloak of Protection that we've got now, and 1 for that fighting style, bringing us to a total potential AC of 33 if we've got shield up. Holy cow. And we're not done yet. It's going to get worse. Better. It's going to get better. Our saves got a bump from that cloak too, right? And we picked up a little pocket healer thanks to our homunculus and spell storing item. We've also picked up some nice utility and support options and capped our intelligence and even increased our damage by a teeny bit. Best Guardian ever. At the moment, our potential max hit points with aid is 136, but that's not counting the potential heals, because guess what? Against our boss fight here, which is an adult red dragon in their lair, the damage taken per round is 15. They're making 7 attacks against us every turn with a +14 to hit. But I mean, with a 33 AC, potentially, they've got to roll a 19 or better to hit us, with a +14 to hit. And yeah, even though they're hitting us with their breath weapon, one of the rounds, right, for 17d6, half on a save, which we've got advantage for with haste, and it's cut in half regardless thanks to absorb elements, right? Again, on average, 15 damage per round if they go all out on us and us alone. And guess how much Cure Wounds at the 3rd level would heal us for? 32 on average. Meaning that, on paper at least, we are potentially ending the fight with all 136 of our hit points remaining. We have now entered ludicrous mode. The typical fight was 3 bandit crime lords. They were doing 17 damage per round on average, and same thing. HPR is 136 still. And the DC 16 level 7 fireball is only 13 DTPR, and all 136 of our hit points remaining at the end, if our homunculus is alive and healing us anyways. Yeah, well, that's the first time that's ever happened. Did I just break something? I mean, probably not. We'll get into analysis and like real life versus working in a lab kind of conversation in the final thoughts. For now, let's just see how deep the rabbit hole goes here.
You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
At level 14, you could absolutely stay fighter for a bit. Action Surge is always awesome. I love casting haste and action surging, right? So we could still get 3 attacks off on round 1. Or casting a different spell if we wanted and still attacking. And there are plenty of things that I would love to have from a fighter subclass. Psi Warrior would work great for our protector selves, especially being intelligence sad, right? Eldritch Knight too, and that would keep our spell slot progression from lagging too much. Battlemaster is always great, but for me, yeah, I think I'm going back to Artificer. Level 14 is amazing. 15 is pretty awesome. 16 has another feat. And I mean, then, yeah, ultimately we'd get Wall of Force at Artificer 17, which we're not going to get to now on this build. Thanks a lot, stupid fighter dip. But yeah, I'm going Artificer 13 here, which would mean 4th level spells. Armorers get Fire Shield, lol, like we're getting hit, and Greater Invisibility for free, both nice to have. But beyond that, I'm just going to say PYF here, pick your favorites. Summon Construct can be a nice damage sponge that deals some damage too, among other things, and feels thematically super on point for a Warforged in a suit of armor to create a construct so it can have a boyfriend, maybe. Freedom of movement is nice when you need it to get out of sticky situations. Arcane Eye is an amazing way to ruin your DM's dungeon by just scouting the whole thing out without reprisal, right? Fabricate can really up your I make stuff game. Have fun with it, PYF. But at level 15, Artificer 14, right? This is where the magic items get really crazy because we get the Advanced Artifice feature, which says that we can attune up to 5 magic items now, and we also regain a Flash of Genius use on a short rest. Awesome. Best of all, we get another new plan, a 6th magic item that we can have going, and access to the level 14 plans, which are the best we are ever going to get. I'd want to learn and use a Ring of Protection now for yet another +1 to our armor class and our saving throws. Swap out our +1 armor plan and item for the +2 armor. And you know what? I might actually even drop that Mind Sharpener at this point too. It's really good. But I worry that we're not going to have our reaction available when we need it because we already used it on Shield or Absorb Elements or Flash of Genius or something else that we're about to get next level. And with all the ways that we're buffing our concentration check already, I mean, with a high constitution saving throw proficiency, Warcaster, and a cloak and a ring of protection, our concentration is at a +15 with advantage right now if we use Flash of Genius. I mean, that's not totally foolproof, but it's pretty dang close. Because, you see, at this level, we can now craft any rare, wondrous item that isn't cursed, and my goodness, does that open up some amazing stuff for us. I'm not going to go over all of my favorite options because there are too many awesome ones, so in the interest of the spreadsheet, I'll just say to consider Belt of Dwarven Kind to bump your constitution by 2, up to 20. We're only at 18, remember. And to grow a fantastic beard, for that matter. Or an Ion Stone of Protection to raise our armor class by, yes, just 1 more. I know, we're practically unhittable already, but I just gotta see where the top of this mountain actually lies. So, sure, I'll take the Ion Stone. Ion Stone. But you take something else, if you want. Like, for example, a Flame Tongue weapon. Holy cow. And again, something I feel like I've been begging for forever. Because yeah, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to make our special Thunder Pulse weapon a Flame Tongue weapon. It's on the list. And it says any melee weapon can be Flame Tongue now, not just swords. And again, our Thunder Pulse is a simple melee weapon. But since we got a +1 to hit and damage with our special weapon back at level 9, we could now essentially have a +1 Flame Tongue weapon. And that makes us the coolest character in all of D&D, I think. This is the kind of scaling I'm talking about, and before anyone freaks out, +1 is really not a huge deal. It increases our hit chance by 5% and does, 1 more damage. It's not OP. It's the principle of the thing that I am so excited about. Scaling! Okay, I am getting all hot and bothered today, aren't I? Just to sum up, with our magic items, now that we can have 6 of them, these are the ones that I'm assuming that we've got maybe after we gain another level so that we can swap stuff out. Armor +2, Shield +2, Cloak of Protection, Ring of Protection, Ion Stone of Protection, and a weapon buff. I'll say +2 weapon because I care more about hitting than I do about dealing damage with this build, but if you want to go Flame Tongue or something else, you should. Okay, at level 16, we would be an artificer at 15, and as an armor, we get the perfected armor feature. It's pretty great, at least for us as a tank. It gives a little damage bonus to every armor model. Dreadnoughts get bigger and do more damage. Infiltrators do more damage and can basically make a big jump on their turn and like light up their targets when they hit them. But Guardians, well, our Thunder Pulse goes from a D8 to a D10. So teeny. But then says, if a huge creature or smaller ends their turn within 30 feet of us, we can use a reaction to force a strength save, or they get pulled 25 feet towards us. Better yet, if we pull them to within 5 feet, we can make an attack against them. Okay, did anyone else play a shield-using warrior in Dragon Age Inquisition? This is like my ultimate fantasy in tankdom. Latch onto an enemy from far away and just get over here, pull them towards you, and smash them when they arrive. This is so awesome. And such a great thing to do to help protect your squishier allies. We can only do it intelligence modifier times per day, but still, I don't know. I just love the feel of it more than anything, probably. But finally, for us, at level 17, we'd be an Artificer 16. We get another feat, and, I mean, sure, part of me, in the name of the spreadsheet, wants to bump Constitution here, but I mean, come on. Intelligence improves almost everything we do. Our damage, our taunt hit chance, right? Our spell DC, our heals, the saving throw bonus for us and our friends via Flash of Genius, how often we can use Flash of Genius, and a bunch of other cool abilities, and probably above all, how many charges our spell storing item has. I probably should have maxed intelligence a long time ago, even as a tank. Okay, but at level 17, it's time for our final damage report. Since last check, we have added another 3 to our armor class, if you can believe it, via the Armor +2, Ring of Protection, and Ion Stone magic items. So we are now at a 31 AC without the shield spell. Yeah. +2 plate armor puts us at 20. Warforged, 21. +2 shield for 25. Ring of Cloak and Protection for 27. Ion Stone for 28. Defense Fighting Style puts us at 29. And the Haste spell puts us at 31. If we used the shield spell, hard to imagine needing it, but we might, it would be 36. That is definitely a record for any of my builds. Our hit points haven't gone up much though. We could cast 8 at the 4th level now if we wanted, and that would bring our total max hit points to 186. Still pretty low for a tank build. But maybe with our AC and saving throw bonuses, plus a pocket healer, we wouldn't really care much. Because at this level, the boss fight would be against an ancient green dragon, not in their lair, who, despite their +15 to hit us, will only hit us if they crit. If we've got shield available, right? Jeez, that's nuts. And yeah, the damage taken per round against that ancient green dragon, 13. Meaning that we would still have 186 hit points remaining at the end if we were getting healed. The typical fight was against 4 Ice Devils, and the DTPR there was 19. Still not enough to outpace the healing that we could get, so 186 HPR. And then Meteor Swarm, finally, something that can outdamage our healing. The DTPR would be 62, meaning that we would end the fight after healing, right, with 81 HPR, hit points remaining. Still on our feet though. After 4 rounds of Meteor Swarm to the face. Not everyone can say that. Absorb Elements was helping us a little bit. Too bad Heavy Armor Master doesn't reduce the bludgeoning damage portion of Meteor Swarm, since it has to be an attack, right? Anyways, we probably have a lot to discuss in the final thoughts, so let's get into it. If you take the hit points remaining that they have at each of the damage reports and just average that into one number, we end up with a 93. Which puts us ahead of every tank build that I've done to date except that Full Metal Abjurist. Yeah, wizard tank, people. It's legit. But you know what? For my money, if I was going to tank, I'd rather play the Guardian. I would. I mean, my goodness, a 36 AC, potentially? And being able to punch stuff with my Thunder Gauntlets and all the support that this character brings, and even damage potential later, especially. So yeah, I mean, let's get into it, because the big kind of elephant in the room is, sure, you're hard to kill, but are you maybe too hard to kill? Giving disadvantage to enemies when they attack anyone but you is great, but if you have a potential 36 AC or, even 28 at earlier levels, and they're like only hitting you if they crit, they're probably better off mathematically trying to hit your allies still anyways, even with disadvantage. And so you're not really tanking much, right? Okay, a couple of things here. One, not all enemies and not all DMs are gonna play it that way. Sometimes they're gonna attack you because you're the closest thing. But some enemies are smart, and some DMs like to play D&D like it's a tactics game versus their players, right? So maybe getting that crazy high AC doesn't actually do as much for us and our allies as we might think. But hey, great news. Artificers are incredibly versatile. So if you're not getting attacked as often as you would like, well, you've got so many options. Drop that Cloak of Protection for a Flame Tongue Fist. With haste up, let's see if they keep ignoring you. Or maybe put haste on a hard-hitting ally instead. They'll love that buff, and it might make you an even more attractive target with your slightly lower AC, right? Because that Raging Barbarian with a Flame Tongue Great Axe that you've hasted is killing everything. Or sure, don't concentrate on hasting yourself, concentrate on Hypnotic Pattern, or Bless if you've got it, or later, Wall of Force. Don't put aid on yourself, put it on everyone else. Fill your spell storing item with Lightning Bolt or Hypnotic Pattern and start unleashing massive AoE damage or control. Or, if you're using Cure Wounds, don't heal yourself. Heal your squishy ally. At the very least, max Intelligence over Constitution sooner, skip the Heavy Armor Master feat, take Warcaster at 4, and then cap Intelligence at 20 at level 8, right? Like, we've explored the extent of what's possible from a survivability standpoint. Now you take it and sacrifice some durability for better offense or control or support. This is kind of what I hope you'll always do with my builds. Tweak them so they work better for you and your table. Giving up some survivability for other things will likely make you a better tank because enemies just might have a chance to hit you now, and you'll be doing other things to help out your party and take out your enemies. I don't know, my friends. I hear everyone saying that Battlesmith is the strongest Artificer subclass, and like the Artillerist is right behind. I still think it's the Guardian Armorer. Even if you can't convince the enemies to attack you every round, just constantly and easily making multiple enemies potentially have disadvantage on their attacks all the time, plus all the other damage, support, utility, and control options you can bring. This build just rose to the very top of my to-play list, and I don't know if it's going to get dislodged anytime soon. I want to play it in a full campaign so bad right now. So, that's the build for the week. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. Everything you do for me and for the channel, it means so much to me. It really does. I hope you have a fantastic day and a really great week. And if you don't, please, please don't give up. Hang in there, okay? You can do this. I hope that you will do good and be kind and that I see you again really soon. But until then, take care. Bye. Please bring me my wine, he said. We haven't had that spirit here since 1969. And still those voices are calling from far away. Wake you up in the middle of the night just to hear them say, hey, welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely face. So, I put on my Knucklebusters t-shirt for the build today because, I don't know, it just looked, the fist is kind of spoke armorer to me. And yeah, this is a t-shirt from a band that I was in a long time ago. We did I think 3 gigs. Why'd you make a t-shirt? Oh, because we thought we were going places, That was my favorite song that we ever did because the guy that we had on lead guitar, I just played rhythm guitar and sang. The guy that we had on lead was legit. He was so good and he could just destroy the solo of that song, Hotel California. And it was so fun to be up on band playing that. Up on stage. If you're not in, the way I said that just made me think of Vicini. Now, sure, A clever man would drink the poison. Would I can't think of it. Well, don't even go into the explanation. Whew. Another long one. Ugh.